Imagine climbing past a frozen corpse, eyes still open, face preserved in ice, sitting upright like they're resting, and you can't help them. You can't move them. You can barely even stop, so you step over them, and you keep climbing. From the woman who became a landmark, to the man 40 climbers walked past while he was still alive, to the wife and mother who died slowly over 2 days while her husband listened on the radio. These aren't just deaths. These are the stories that haunt climbers for the rest of their lives. This is the most disturbing Everest deaths ever recorded. Mount Everest. 29,032 feet. The highest point on Earth. Above 26,000 feet is the death zone, where your body actively starts dying, where rescue is nearly impossible, where bodies freeze in place and stay there for decades. Over 300 people have died on Everest, and roughly 200 bodies are still up there, frozen, preserved, visible to every climber who passes. Some have become landmarks, route markers, waypoints that climbers use to navigate, because on Everest the dead don't leave, they stay, forever. Let's start with the woman who became a landmark. October 1979, Hannelore Schmatz, 39 years old, German climber. She was attempting to become the first German woman to summit Everest. On October 2nd, she reached the summit with her husband Gerhard, American climber Ray Genet, and 2 Sherpas. They made it. They stood on top of the world. But the summit is only halfway. They started descending too late. Darkness fell, temperatures plummeted. At 26,000 feet just above Camp 4 on the South Col, Hannelore could go no further. She was exhausted, hypothermic, moving in slow motion. She sat down, leaned back against her pack, and told her climbing partners she just needed to rest. "Just a few minutes," she said. The Sherpas tried to get her to stand, tried to move her. But she couldn't, or wouldn't. Her husband Gerhard faced an impossible choice. Stay with her and die, or descend and survive. He descended, promising to return with help at first light. Hannelore spent the night sitting upright, eyes open, hair blowing in the wind. When the sun rose, she was frozen solid, still sitting, still leaning against her pack. Her eyes were open, her hair flowing, one arm reaching forward as if asking for help. And there she stayed. For years, every climber who passed that section of the route saw her, sitting there, frozen in time. She became known as the German woman, a waypoint. Climbers would say, "Turn left at the German woman." Imagine that, using a dead woman's body to navigate, walking past her frozen corpse, seeing her face, her eyes. Eventually, high winds knocked her body down the Kangjung face. She's gone now, but for over a decade she sat there, watching everyone pass. But Hannelore's death, disturbing as it was, at least came quickly. Some deaths on Everest are slow, agonizing. Witnessed. May 10th, 1996. The deadliest day in Everest history at the time. 8 people died in a single storm. Among them was Rob Hall, 35 years old, New Zealand mountaineer, one of the most experienced Everest guides in the world. He'd summited Everest 5 times. He'd guided 39 clients to the top. He was a professional, careful, experienced. His wife, Jan Arnold, was 7 months pregnant back in New Zealand. They'd been trying for years to have a baby. Finally, it was happening. On May 10th, Hall summited with his client, Doug Hansen, but they were hours late. A storm was moving in. As they descended, the storm struck. Visibility dropped to 0. Winds exceeded 100 miles per hour. Temperature plummeted to -40 degrees. Hall became trapped on the south summit at 28,700 feet, alone, unable to descend, frostbitten, dying. But he had his radio, and base camp could patch calls through to New Zealand. They called his wife. For hours, John talked to her husband as he froze to death on Everest. He told her he loved her. He told her to name their baby Sarah. He told her he was cold, and there was nothing anyone could do. Rescue was impossible. The storm was too severe. Helicopters couldn't fly. Ground teams couldn't reach him. His last words on the radio were to base camp, "Don't worry about me too much." Then silence. Rob Hall died on the south summit. His body is still there. Jan gave birth to their daughter Sarah 2 months later. Sarah grew up knowing her father died on a mountain while talking to her mother. That's disturbing on a level most people can't comprehend. Before we continue, I need to say something. These stories are difficult. They're tragic. They're disturbing. But they need to be told. If you're finding value in this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. These aren't just stories, they're warnings. Lessons about what can go wrong when humans push into places we weren't meant to survive. Your support means everything. Now let's continue. If Rob Hall's death was disturbing because people heard it happen, the next death is disturbing because people watched it happen. For 2 days. May 1998. Frances Arsentiev, 40 years old. American climber. Attempting to become the first American woman to summit Everest without supplemental oxygen. She was climbing with her husband Sergey. Both were experienced, both were strong, both were determined. On May 22nd, they summited. Frances became the first American woman to summit Everest without oxygen, but they got separated on the descent. Frances became disoriented, exhausted. She wandered off route. At around 27,000 feet, she collapsed. Unable to move, barely conscious. And there she lay, all night, exposed to winds, to cold, slowly freezing. The next morning, May 23rd, climbers Ian Woodall and Kathy O'Dowd found her. She was still alive, barely. Frostbitten, hypothermic, semi-conscious, and she was aware enough to speak. She kept repeating the same thing. Don't leave me. Woodall and O'Dowd tried. They gave her oxygen. They tried to move her. But she was too weak, and they were running out of oxygen themselves. They faced the same impossible choice every climber faces at that altitude. Stay and die trying to save her, or leave and survive. They left. They had to. Staying would have killed all three of them. Frances was alone again, still alive, still aware, still repeating, "Don't leave me," to no one. She survived a second night, May 23rd into May 24th. On May 24th, more climbers passed her. She was still alive, still moving slightly, still trying to speak, but no one could help her. No one had the resources, the strength, the oxygen. Finally, sometime on May 24th, she stopped moving. 2 days after collapsing. 2 days of slowly freezing to death while climbers stepped over her. Her body stayed there, visible to every climber, for 9 years. She became known as Sleeping Beauty because she looked like she was sleeping. Purple, jacket bright against the snow, face peaceful, eyes closed. For 9 years, climbers walked past Sleeping Beauty. Some stopped to pay respects, some took photos, some tried not to look. In 2007, an expedition funded by her family finally moved her body. They couldn't bring her down, but they moved her off the main route, covered her with an American flag. Her husband Sergey's body was found a year later. Lower on the mountain, he'd fallen trying to return to help her. His ice axe was driven into the snow, pointed toward where Frances had been. He'd been trying to reach her, and he died trying. But if Frances Arsentiev's death was disturbing because of how long it took, David Sharp's death is disturbing because of how many people saw it happen and did nothing. May 15th, 2006. David Sharp, 34 years old, British climber, mathematics teacher. He was climbing solo, no guide, no support team, minimal equipment. He was trying to do Everest on a budget. On his descent from the summit, he took shelter in a small cave at 27,800 feet, a cave known to climbers as Green Boots Cave. It's called that because there's a body there, a climber named Sewang Paljor who died in 1996. He's still there, wearing green boots, face down, frozen. David Sharp sat down next to Green Boots, to rest, to get out of the wind, and he couldn't get back up. That morning, over 40 climbers passed David Sharp. He was still alive, conscious, moving occasionally but severely frostbitten, hypoxic, barely coherent. Some climbers stopped, asked if he was okay. He mumbled responses. Then they kept climbing. A Turkish team offered him oxygen. He reportedly waved them off. A Discovery Channel film crew passed him. They filmed him, then continued to the summit. Over 40 climbers throughout the entire day. All past a dying man. By afternoon, David Sharp stopped moving. His eyes were open. Frost covered his face. He died sitting upright in Green Boots Cave, right next to the body he'd sheltered beside. The controversy was immediate. How could 40 climbers walk past a dying man? Sir Edmund Hillary, the first person to summit Everest, was disgusted. He said the first rule of mountaineering is to help people in trouble, not step over them. Climbers who passed Sharp defended themselves. They said he was too far gone, that stopping would have killed them too, that he'd made his choices. The debate raged. What's the ethical responsibility at 28,000 feet? Where oxygen is limited, where stopping to help someone might kill you both. David Sharp's body is still in Green Boots Cave, sitting next to Tsewang Paljor, two bodies in the same small cave, both used as waypoints. Because that's what Everest does. It turns people into landmarks. Let's talk about Green Boots for a moment. Tsewang Paljor, Indian climber, member of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. He died during the 1996 disaster, same storm that killed Rob Hall, but on the north side of the mountain. He died at 27,900 feet in a small limestone cave on the northeast ridge route. Clip. Green Boots position, face down, bright boots. He's lying face down, arms extended, wearing bright green mountaineering boots. For over 20 years, thousands of climbers passed him, used him as a landmark. When you see Green Boots, you're close to the summit. Some climbers took photos with him, posed next to a frozen corpse like it's a tourist attraction. His face is visible, partially. Frozen in the position he died. You can see his expression. His family knows he's there. They know he's become a waypoint, a landmark, a photo opportunity. How disturbing is that? In 2014, Green Boots disappeared, either moved by the Chinese Mountaineering Association or buried by shifting snow. But for 18 years, he was the most famous corpse on Everest. And he's not alone. There's an area on Everest called Rainbow Valley, named for the brightly colored jackets of the many bodies lying there. Bodies sprawled on their backs, reaching toward the sky, frozen mid-crawl, still wearing their summit smiles. Climbers have to walk through it, step over bodies, try not to look at faces, like Shreya Shaklorfine, Canadian climber, died in 2012, May 19th, 2012. Over 200 climbers attempted the summit that day. Massive traffic jam. Shreya ignored multiple warnings from her Sherpa. She was moving too slowly, running out of oxygen, needed to turn back. She refused. She'd paid for this. She was going to summit. She made it. She stood on top, got her photo. On the descent, she collapsed just 250 meters from Camp 4, less than 15 minutes from safety. Her Sherpa tried to help, couldn't move her, had to leave her to get help. When they returned, she was dead. They draped a Canadian flag over her body. She's still there, in Rainbow Valley, in her bright pink jacket, another landmark, another warning ignored, another disturbing death. The thing about Everest deaths that makes them so disturbing isn't just how people die, it's what happens after. They become waypoints. Turn left at the German woman. Green Boots means you're almost there. Don't stop at Sleeping Beauty. They don't decompose. The cold preserves them perfectly. They look like they died yesterday, even decades later. Families know their loved ones are up there, being stepped over, being used as navigation points, being photographed by strangers. Recovery is almost impossible, too dangerous, too expensive. Bodies in the death zone stay there. Over 300 deaths, roughly 200 bodies still on the mountain, and it keeps happening. Every season, more deaths, more bodies, more disturbing stories. Because summit fever is real. People invest $50,000, train for years, and they refuse to turn back even when they should. The ethics remain debated. What's your responsibility to a dying climber when helping them might kill you? Edmund Hillary said, nobody should have to step over a dead body to get to the summit. But they do. They have to, because the bodies won't move, and the climbers won't stop. Survivors are haunted. They dream about the bodies, the faces, the eyes still open. Some climbers turn back. They see the bodies. They see what Everest really is, a graveyard with a view. And they decide the summit isn't worth it. Others don't. and some of them become waypoints themselves. Everest is beautiful from a distance, majestic, inspiring. But up close, it's a frozen cemetery, where the dead watch the living climb past, where bodies become landmarks, where people die slowly while dozens watch. Hannelore Schmatz, sitting upright for years, hair blowing in the wind. Rob Hall, talking to his pregnant wife as he froze to death. Frances Arsentiev, sleeping beauty, 2 days of dying while climbers stepped over her. David Sharp, 40 people passed him. He died alone next to another corpse. Green Boots, the most famous body on Everest. A waypoint for 18 years. Shreya Shah, 250 meters from safety, ignored every warning. These weren't just statistics. They were people, with families, with lives, with reasons for being on that mountain. And Everest will claim more. It always does. The bodies remain. Silent witnesses, eternal warnings. But climbers keep coming. Keep stepping over the dead. Keep chasing the summit. Is it worth it? That's for each person to decide. But remember, every body on that mountain was someone's child, someone's parent, someone's partner. They're not just waypoints. They're tragedies. The most disturbing thing about Everest deaths isn't how people die. It's that we've normalized it. We've accepted it. We've turned corpses into landmarks, and we keep climbing. If this video impacted you, please like and subscribe. These stories need to be told. These people need to be remembered as more than waypoints. Leave a comment. Which story disturbed you most? And would you still climb Everest knowing what you know now? Thanks for watching, and remember, the summit is optional. Coming down is mandatory. Stay safe out there.